So basically, my plan today is to go through what frame data is, and using Sub-Zero as the basis, show people what frame data is, how to punish certain moves that people have with, so the more popular characters like Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Noob, go through their moves, and then show you how to punish that with Sub-Zero, because there's a lot of stuff that I can imagine people get frustrated with online, and they don't really know how to deal with it, but it's just a matter of knowing what buttons to press to make sure that people don't keep doing, because that's one of my biggest issues, is that I don't know what's punishable and what's not punishable, so people just keep abusing certain strings against me, and I should be making them pay for it, but instead I'm just blocking, or I'm pressing a button that isn't right, which means I'm getting counter hit, which is getting me opened up a bit more. So knowing what you can and can't punish is the basis for any matchup with whatever character you choose, and then that way you know it's just about playing the player rather than playing against the character, because you know if so and so does this move, don't press a button after it because it's safe, or don't press a button here. So I'm not going to go into like locks and frame traps and stuff like that, because to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure what all the tactics are with everybody, but I can go through the frames themselves and show you with the more, just with the average strings and average moves and stuff, just to show you exactly what is safe and what isn't safe, and what you can potentially be punishing. And this is just a Sub-Zero. You can adapt this knowledge. So say with a certain character, if you've got a move that's similar, then use that move to punish the strings. So the first thing that I wanted to do basically is just look at Sub-Zero, talk a little bit about frame data and how you can use these moves that you see here to punish the attacks, your opponent's attacks, and just understanding frame data so that you know exactly what button to press at the right time, so that it's not, because there's a lot of myths around frame data. Oh, it's maths, and oh, I just want to play the game, I don't want to learn. I mean, you can do that. You don't have to interactive in what sense? Yes, I'm going to put all of this on YouTube, so I apologise if I start going on random tangent conversations, because I'm actually streaming at the moment. You can come and join in, twitch.tv/sodiumgym, but I'm going to be interacting with my chat as well, so if you just see me answer a question or go off on a tangent, it's because I'm talking to my chat. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, I'll read the questions out loud. Yeah, so there are people in the chat at the moment as well asking questions, so if somebody, like I said, if I go off on a tangent, it's just because I'm answering questions. So the first bit that I just want to look at is talk about frame data. So as I was saying, a lot of people who play fighting games, or who are -6 actually. So yeah, I'll go to that in a sec. That's the first thing I was going to say. So frame data, basically, each move, whatever it is, whether it's a normal attack, a string, a special move, whatever it is, has a certain number of frames. Now, when you have a move that has a certain amount of frames, they're not the same. So depending on what the move is, there are different numbers related to each move. So this move, his square, if you see here, it tells you on the screen, if you press start and you go to input commands on the right hand side, this is just for Mortal Kombat by the way, but every fighting game has frames, but Mortal Kombat give you the best sort of NetherRealm, give you the best sort of help in learning it, because no, it's cool, keep asking. This is just the intro bit basically, and then as I'm going along, if you have any questions, just chime in. If you can see here on the right hand side of the screen, you've got frame data. So what that means is the startup is how many frames that move takes to come out. So if I just press square, which is we'll use Mortal Kombat annotation. So Mortal Kombat, you have the annotations on the controller. Square is 1, triangle is 2, X is 3, circle is 4. Now, the reason why people do this is because if you use an Xbox controller, it's not going to be square, triangle, it's going to be whatever it is, or if you're using a different sort of controller. So the universal way of dealing with the moves, or the buttons rather, is by calling them 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'll be using the Mortal Kombat, I'll be using the universal annotations, just so if anybody else watching this is on Xbox or anything. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that people, newer players just, I think there's a myth about it because it seems quite complicated that they don't want to... Actually, funnily enough, Mortal Kombat itself does have a very good frame data tutorial on in the actual tutorial system. So if you guys want to check that out too, but you know, just to have it, reading it on the screen and having somebody explain it to you, there's always a little bit of a difference. So if we go to the actual frame data section, I'll just quickly go through what these mean, what these numbers mean. So on the left we have startup. So 8 is the amount of frames that when I press my button it takes 8 frames for it to happen. So that's 8. My one button is 8 frames. Active frames is how many frames is it still out. So if I press 1, you can see it's out for 2 frames before it comes back. So active, that could change a little bit depending on hitboxes. So hitboxes is, if you see my character sticking out his hand, the very end of his fingertips is the hitbox. So hitboxes vary depending on which move you're using. So the further out the button goes that you're pressing, the end of that animation usually is the end of the hitbox. So how long it's out for, the active frames, is basically how long. You'll see the more frames a move is, usually it's more active because it takes longer to come out. But we'll go through that as we're explaining things. So the recovery is how many frames does it take to come back. So before your character can block again. So you're throwing, it takes 8 to go out, and then 15, because can you see I'm pressing block as soon as I'm throwing it out, but it's still taking a little bit of time before I can block again. So if I'm just throwing it out like that, be careful that somebody with a slower move, with a faster move than 15 can punish you, because that's essentially what frame data is. You have a number, and whatever the lower number is, usually is a punish. So that's what I'm going to be showing you now in terms of what Sub-Zero can do and the other characters. So, as Sub-Zero, if we can go through all of his moves so you can see. I mean, his main punish that I've been doing as I've been playing, he's got an 8 frame startup jab, which leads into a combo, and then you can do your mix-up normal combo with that. So that's usually the fastest button that leads into a combo. Triangle is also it's also 8 frames, but if you can see, he's using his backhand, so the range of it isn't as far. So if you see here, that's not hitting, that's not hitting. Move forward slightly, that's not hitting. So if we just keep going forward, that hits there. Did you see that? Triangle didn't hit, 2 didn't hit. Sorry, I'm a bit close now. Wow, it does hit actually much further than I thought. 2 didn't hit because you're just out of range, but 1 did hit. So even though they're the same amount of frames, you have to pay attention to the animation of it. So, you know, if they're close, you do want to do 2-1 because that's 58 damage, and 1-2 is 48 damage, but you're trading off the range. So even though 2-1 is more damage, you have to be careful that if you're out of range of the animation, it doesn't matter because you're not going to hit. So if they do a move that's unsafe up close, by all means punish with 2-1 because it's more damage. But I would say in most circumstances it's better to do 1-2 just to be safer, because it does have, even though they both come out exactly the same amount of frames, you just have to pay attention to the animation just to see what reaches and what doesn't reach. Yeah, exactly. So the 1 does reach even though they're the same frames. But we'll just talk about frames and stuff. I'm just talking about Sub-Zero specific stuff for people that want to play Sub-Zero too. So you just have to be a bit careful there. But his main punishes for me are, as I was saying, number 1, which goes into 1-2 and a combo. His down 1 is 6 frames, so I had a question in the chat before. What is the lowest number of frame data that's unsafe? Every fighting game has a move, has a number of frames, which is usually the absolute minimum number of frames a move can come out. In Street Fighter it's 3, the fastest move is 3 frames. In Tekken it's 10, and in Mortal Kombat, as far as I'm aware, it's 6. That's just from what I've been seeing at the moment. So it could be 6. It could be 5. I'm sure it is 6, but I mean, because I've only been playing Sub-Zero, I'm not entirely sure because he doesn't have any 5-frame moves. So yeah, not that I can see. Yeah. So what number 1 is? Oh, really? I didn't know that. Smash Bros is 1. Bloody hell. Yeah, I didn't know that at all. Yeah, good luck blocking those then. That's some crazy reactions. Yeah, so his down 1 is 6 frames. So Mortal Kombat, no lows ever cancel into special moves, because the reason why the low buttons are usually the fastest is because they're used to check. And what I mean by check is if you have a move that's unsafe, that's -8, Sub-Zero can get a punish with his 1-2. However, if there's a string that's -7 or -6, you still, even though you can't get a full punish with a full punish in regards to turning it into a combo for maximum damage, what you can do is you can check them with down 1. So what that does is it stops them from using that same combo over and over again if it takes a less amount of frames to come out. If it's unsafe, you check them with the down 1, and what that does is it prevents them, like I said, from going over and over, and or if there's a gap in a certain string, which I can show you later with, specifically with Liu Kang, there was one that I didn't know and I had to go into training to figure it out. Yeah, if you press, hold on, there's actually in options, you can actually turn frame data on. So I'm going to turn, oh, not for player 2. If you go to practice options, you scroll down to frame data. I'm just going to put it on for Sub-Zero for now so you can see it when I'm pressing buttons. It actually shows you, can you see? Start up 6 frames. So, you've got your, this can be used as a check to stop people from abusing strings that have gaps in them, and just as a means of checking their offensive ability, basically, to give you the advantage again. So if you hit with a 1, that puts you, let me see, down 1 gives you a hit advantage of 9. So if you hit with a down 1, you can then get them with a standing 1, because as you see, the hit advantage is 9, but the start up is 8. So it means that if you hit them with a down 1, the hit advantage is 9 frames. So that means that you can, because 1 is 8 frames, you can then hit them with that afterwards, because they won't be able to recover from the hit in time to counter your attack. But yeah, in terms of punishes, the 3 main ones I've been using at the moment are, as I said, standing 1, down 1, and actually back 3. So the reason why back 3 is good is, you see 1 here, and down 1, they've both got pretty decent range, especially standing 1. You can see I'm pretty far away from where the tip of his fingers hit, is pretty far away. But back 3, can you see he sort of stepped forward slightly, even though it's a 13 frame startup, so you shouldn't be really using it as a standard startup, as a standard punish after certain strings, unless it's 13, unless the block is 13 frames or more, because you step forward so much, it does give you, I mean, if you see the range, it should hit from here. Yeah, can you see how far away I am? If the opponent is stand blocking or just walking backwards and forwards in this area, you do, and then you get a combo. So you press back 3, walking backwards and forwards, back 3, boom, full combo, you know. Well, you hit the full combo. Oh, so a punish is, so I just had a question in the chat. A punish is when when you can do a move after the opponent does their move that is that they would be completely unable to do anything about. So you're basically punishing them for doing a move, and it's unsafe. So in Mortal Kombat, there's actually a thing that comes up, a little status bar underneath whichever your health bar is, that tells you if you've punished a move successfully. So if we go to practice options, you can record the AI. If you go to AI options, we'll have him do a throw. Yeah, we'll have him do a throw. So you can actually record. So just do a jump and a throw. Did you see when it came up, once I uppercut him, because I ducked, uppercut, it actually came up with a punish in the bottom left, sorry, the top left of the screen. So the reason why I got a crushing, the animation was different at the start is because there's a crushing blow, but I won't go into that in this video. So yeah, a punish is a move that you do after the opponent does a move, which means that you're guaranteed to hit them. And there's nothing they can do about it. They can't block, they can't move back. They've committed to that move, and the move that you've done, it doesn't have to be an uppercut, it can be anything less than 10, a throw is 10 frames. So anything less than 10 frames, so my jab is 8 frames, as you can see, he's ducking, I'm ducking rather, he's throwing, and because it's 10 frames, the jab is 8 frames, and it's punishing it. So in this instance, you can even do 2-1, which is a higher damaging combo because you're so close to them, so it doesn't matter about the distance. But yeah, that's what punish is. So yeah, with Sub-Zero, his 3 main punishes that I've been using anyway, as I said, are 1, down 1, and back 3. Back 3 for the range, 1 because it's your fastest button that leads into a full combo, and then down 1 because that's the check to stop people from doing, because it's -6 and 6 is the fastest frame move that you can have in this game. Down 6 is the fastest because and so it means that that's the button that you press if you want to check people from doing moves that are unsafe. So yeah, that's what I do with Sub-Zero. I mean, he's got a very good overhead as well, which is forward and 2, which is this one, double axe slam. However, it's 19 frames, so, and the recovery is 30. So it's a very, very slow move. It is an overhead. I mean, if you're playing against a Sub-Zero, my advice to you would be to block low, because that's only 13 and the range is very far, and try and react if you can. I mean, it's quite difficult online, especially when the ping is quite high, but try and react to the overhead because it's 19 frames. So if you see him about to do that, you can see you've got your down kick, which is 9, that which is 6, that which is 11. I mean, even an uppercut is 10. So just try and react rather than, that's my advice for fight, especially Dead of Winter Sub-Zero spec. Mine's called Red Snow because it's customized, but Dead of Winter Sub-Zero spec, the game plan is to mix you up with the overhead into the EX Fireball, because the EX Fireball is specific to the Dead of Winter spec and it's the only way you can combo into the overhead, or the low. So it's either the overhead or the low. It's 50-50. And then you ice them, and then if you do that part of the combo, which is jump 2, back 1, 4, the back 4 in that combo is actually 10 frames. If I believe, I could be misleading you. Yeah, the hit advantage is 10 frames. So that's where the mix is. If they don't block, that this down 2 is confirmed, is guaranteed rather. So that's where you get them. You freeze them, you either go for the overhead or you go for the low. That's the whole game plan with Sub-Zero. But yeah, in relation, Yeah, it's a 50-50. So, oh, sorry. Yeah, good question. So 50-50 is when you give your opponent only two options. They can so if I can, in this instance, you freeze them. Yeah, this is all going on YouTube afterwards. This is why I'm doing it in a bit more of a tutorial sort of way, because I'm going to cut all of this up and put it all on YouTube to start off with. Yeah, so 50-50, when you've frozen the opponent, you've put them in a state where I can either hit them with the overhead, which they have to block high, or I hit them with the low, where they have to block low. And that's, I mean, I can grab them as well, but in terms of leading to a combo, you can't combo off a grab. That's just a set amount of damage. If I want to keep the game going and I want to keep doing the damage, because Sub-Zero doesn't do a lot of damage with his combos, he sort of has this one, so if I do the main combo, that's with 1 bar. So that's 280 damage. I mean, roughly you want to look at to do about 300. 300 or so damage with a 1 bar combo. So he's not a lot of damage. He doesn't do a lot of damage with his combos, but the trick is you want to punish them with your fast moves and then get the mix-up going. So what's happening? Am I going to go low? And now he's in the corner. And Sub-Zero, he has a combo which I keep dropping, but you only need to mix them up twice to get them into the corner, and that's where your mix-up game really excels, because then you can start doing jump-ins and getting them with quite extreme corner damage, because he has a combo that leads on. Let's see if I can actually do it. Let's get Scorpion in the combo. It's not even that hard to do, but... So I've mixed them up. Boom, there you go, that's the combo. So that crushing blow is activated when you do it in a combo that's 8 hits or more, and that's quite an easy combo to do. So you get them in the corner, you mix them up. Oh, I've gone for the overhead. Boom, I hit you with it again. You know, well, I actually hit it. But yeah, so you only need to mix them up twice to get them into the corner. So it's gone on a slight tangent a little bit there, but yeah, as I was saying, standing 1 leads into a combo, down 1, which is a check, and back 3, which is a long range moving forward move, which could put you in positions if they're stand blocking, or if they're doing a move that, you know, with a slower start up, you can punish with from a distance. So what I want to do now is, now I've shown you what Sub-Zero can do, yeah, essentially it's 50-50. It's a 50-50 and a mix up the same thing. Essentially, yes. So by putting them in a 50-50, that's the mix-up. A mix-up is when you put your opponent in a position where they have to guess, basically. So it's not necessarily a 50-50. It might be, you know, you can grab, or you can throw. So you can grab, you can hit them low, or, you know, it's not always a 50-50. But a mix-up is where you, as I said, is where you put your opponent in a position which means that they have to guess. So if you knock them down, that's a mix-up. You'll hear fighting game commentators call it okuzemi, because it's a Japanese word basically for wake up. So what you're going to do on your opponent's wake up, what's the mix-up? I've knocked him down. Do I go high straight away? If I knock him down again, do I go for a low? If I knock him down again, do I go for an overhead? You know, I mean, you have to be careful, because the opponent has certain wake up options that could beat you. So if I went to go for an overhead on their wake up, and he woke up uppercut me, he'd beat me. So I have to be careful. And there's also a bunch of other wake up options in Mortal Kombat. I'm not going to go, as I said, I'm not going to go into them too much today, because I just want to talk about frame data and punishes. But yeah, a mix-up is making your opponent guess. So yeah, now I've spoken briefly about, well, I think it's briefly, into what what Sub-Zero does and how I play Sub-Zero, and I think his general Dead of Winter game plan.